the looks at a faded photograph from a long time ago. Many times through the day, she wonders when he'll be coming home. And she remembers the two that came in uniform, told her son was missing. She feared he might be gone. As a tear rolls down her face, she then recalls her son saying, all gave some gave all.
She could step on a booby trap. We had more guys killed by accidents. We had guys killed by their own guys. You know, it's war's not a pretty sight. You know, you watch it on TV, it's very nice, but when you're up close and impersonal, it's a whole different ballgame. We got guys that got electrocuted. We got guys that got shot by some of our own guys because they didn't know they were. First of all, the guy shouldn't have been there, and then next thing you know, and then you go out there and there's poor Charlie gone, you know. But there's a lot of stuff that happened. We had lieutenants that called in artillery strikes and mortar strikes on our own men, which happened to me and my buddies. We were out on a road clearing operation. We went to the right side of the road. The other guy went to the left. He had just got there. He called in on a mortar strike and he wiped out the whole squad. So, and I'm going, we were there too, and I'm saying, what's he talking about? I don't hear anything, you know. But
June of '69, Ashaw Valley, which was a, you can look in any computer, and it was heavily communist controlled by the Viet Cong and the NVA. It was literally a valley where a lot of supplies went through. So we were there to disrupt that. And June of '69, we got completely surrounded and didn't know it. And as nighttime went along, the Viet Cong and the NVA prefer to fight at night. They don't like to fight during the day. They like to come at you at night, and that's what happened. We had our perimeter set up, and we had, they call them claymores, and which goes all around the perimeter. It blows out these silver balls, which is controlled by a guy in a bunker. And one guy noticed, he thought he saw the sandbag move. So he calls back to the commander, and they put up a flare. Flare goes up, the fast sandbag actually had been moved over another few feet. So they knew something was up. So what they did was they alerted everybody on the fire base. The fire base was called Currahee. And what they did was artillery and the mortars all shot flares up. When they went up, they were already through the wire. They had cut the wire. They were very good. They cut through the concertina, and they were called sappers. Behind them were the NVA and the VC that were armed. The sappers, all they do is they wear a pair of underwear. No shoes, no hats, no shirts, no nothing. Their job is to cut the wire, run through the fire bases, and they would have satchels of homemade grenades, and they would throw them into the bunkers. At this particular fire base, the bunkers weren't up. They were right to the ground because you didn't want to be out in the open. They would started running through, and when everything got lit up like this, we were completely surrounded, and they were running through, and of course we were awake now. Everybody was awake, and they had their weapons, and a firefight inside the fire base went on. So that was, no question, my worst time. They were literally running by you. You know, they couldn't do anything. They didn't have a weapon. So here they are running through in underwear and trying to throw the explosives into the artillery pits and whatever. Yeah, that was the worst time.
One night I just said, hey, is there anything I can do? There was a sergeant in charge of our squadron. He said, well, the Vietnamese police headquarters on base was hit by a rocket. And of all things, they needed batteries, flashlight batteries. And he said, can you go get some where are you going to get? Well, they had a lot of supply there. And they told us to go to a Connex, which is a metal container, and open it up, and there's batteries in there. So me and another guy volunteered to go get the batteries, and they're in boxes, very heavy boxes. So we'd run, and I'd give him the box. He'd run a while, get tired, give me the box, and we'd run back to the base, back to the headquarters, and there'd be a truck to meet us there. And we stopped and just hesitated for a second, and a rocket landed in front of us and blew the truck up. But the truck saved me and him, gave us a dirt shower, but we finally got the batteries to the truck. And it's funny, you don't think about it at the time, but then they said, well, who's going to go with the truck to protect them? And I had a rifle, so I said I'd go. And we drove over to the Vietnamese headquarters and gave them the batteries. And that was right off the runway of Ton Snoot Air Base. And when we went over to the Vietnamese police barracks, there was a bunch of sailors, probably 35, 40, waiting to go home, because they're always transferring, and they're waiting at the airport to go home. And we went by them, and I was looking, I was kind of envious they were going home. And we dropped off the batteries, and coming back, and to my shock, a rocket had landed right in the middle of them, and hurt a lot of them. So we tried to help what we could and get some to the hospital. But that was a very moving moment for me, because one minute you're there and next minute you're not. But
thought we were safe until we had an accident. A jet crashed into the ship and 4 people were killed. And then we're at war here, you know. The jet was hit in Vietnam, and the officers, the captain or somebody wanted them to land the jet, and it crashed into the ship and people got killed. And it happens quick. For 3 seconds, 4 people were gone. Now we didn't know we're in Vietnam. Now I was very scared then. I was scared. But before that, I didn't think anything would ever happen. But things happen, and it happens fast.
Going into an area where we didn't have a lot of good reconnaissance, a lot of good intel of what we were getting into. You know, the fact of not knowing, and you know, even when you got the intel, you know, there was a 60-40 chance that it was right. You know, I guess so. I guess it's a constant thing, is you know, the fact of not knowing. You know.
Okay, after we left Vietnam and everything was trying to be straightened out, and with all the refugees, we went back into Subic Bay, and we were heading down to Singapore and then Australia. Well, on our way down there, the new Cambodia government took over the migrant ship okay? And what happened was they took over the migrant ship, and they were supposed to have had the people on Koh Tang Island. Well, it was all kind of messed up in the beginning. They weren't sure who was going to get onto the ship and find out what's going on. What happened was they ended up getting a hold of the Marines. I'm not sure if they were from where they were from, and they come over there with the Jolly Green Giants, and they were dropping them off. Well, as they were coming over there, they were getting annihilated. They were getting wiped right out. They were getting shot right out of the skies. Of course, our planes went up and they bombed the PT boats that were coming in after the Maiguez, and we bombed in Cambodia too. This is something that nobody knows about. And the 12th to the 15th, when this was being done, we had Marines on one side of the island, Hargrove, Marshall, I forgot the other guy's name. And what happened was 3 of the Marines ended up getting stuck on the island and never came back on the helicopters when they evacuated with the Jolly Green Giants. I think there was a total of 41 Army, Navy, and Marines that were killed. There is a memorial over there, and there is an association. But it's something that people don't know about. You gotta look on Koh Tang Island, and they were evacuating. They were coming out, landing on the ship, our ship, the Coral Sea, with the Jolly Green Giants, and we were doing the evacuation. It was a very, very, very sad time. I just hope some people could look it up. And actually, that was they said that was the last war, and it's actually on. I think it's on my vest right here.
Well, one of the battles I was in, we lost. We lost four men, and 8 got wounded. And that was a firefight that we got in on April 10th. 1969, and that was like my first really bad day. I mean, I had some other ones, where we made, a contact, with the enemy, but that one was one of the worst days. So. If you, on my jacket, I wear the names of the four men that got killed that day.
They try and tell you not to get too close to anybody, and because he might be your friend one day and he may get killed the next. So you kind of, you have friends, but you don't want to get really, really close to them. Which I made the mistake of one guy, I did get kind of close to, and he ended up getting killed maybe about, 6-7 months after I was there. And he didn't get killed out in the field either. He went in for a dental appointment, and when he got back to the LZ, they rocketed and mortared the LZ, and one of the tank drivers, I don't know how he did it, but he was supposed to be firing out, and he hit the bunker that my friend was on and killed him and 9 other guys. So you don't have to necessarily get killed by the enemy. You could, they call it friendly fire,
And then another time we went into a place called Happy Valley. They had some weird names for the places over there. But Happy Valley was a place where the North Vietnamese army would come down out of the mountains, and that's where their supplies were there in Happy Valley, their ammunition, weapons, and so on and so forth. And we got hit one night. We actually got overrun, where they actually made it into our perimeter. And there was there was hand-to-hand combat. There were guys, but those were probably the two worst nights that I spent over there. I mean, I can laugh a little bit about it now, but because that night there, I carried an M60 machine gun, and it actually got shot right out of my hands. Like you see in the movies, a guy shoots and the gun goes flying. Well, that actually happened with me. And one of the pictures that I had with my letters was on the back of the gun itself. It's called the, I can't remember now. But there was a hole, the stock, there was a hole that went right through the stock. Now inside that stock is a buffer. And that's the thing that when you pull a trigger and the gun fires, it shoots, the round goes out and then it ejects it. And that gun shoots 700 rounds a minute. But it was still working. So I picked it up and started shooting again. But I didn't realize that there was a hole that went all the way through it. I'm just glad it didn't hit the buffer, because if it did, I wouldn't have been able to use it. So, but those were probably the two worst days that I spent. Not the others weren't bad, but those two there were really bad.
We were out one time, we got attacked by 2,500 North Vietnamese. There was 200 of us. And it was quite the battle. I thought I got off it. We were in the middle of the Iron Triangle up in Junction City, Operation Junction City 2. And the day before, we got our recon platoon got wiped out. They went in, we landed, went to the LZ. They went out and scouted the area. And there were signs hanging from a tree, go any farther and you will die, Americans. So they called it in and they said, what should we do? The guy says, well, go see what's going on. They took a few more steps and they got wiped out. They got annihilated. And we had to go. Now we're out patrolling the area, so we have to go back because they don't know what's going on. As a matter of fact, Alexander Haig was my battalion commander at the time. He was once the Secretary of State. He thought he was in charge, but he wasn't. As Reagan got shot and Vice President was out of the country, but that's another story. But anyways, so now that night, we go out on what they call an LP. There's 3 guys. It's a listening post at night because you can't see. It's an outpost during the day because you can see. So we're there, it's about 3 in the morning, and all of a sudden I thought I got off at the bus of Saigon. I hear hundreds of Vietnamese in front of us. I'm going, oh my God. And they mortared us. And they threw in, I think, 60 or 80 rounds into our perimeter. And I'm out in front now with 2 other guys. And that was the most, I thought I was gone, as a matter of fact. But unfortunately, I made it. Fortunately, I should say. And it was quite the night. It was quite the morning. Matter of fact, they attacked our artillery, so they couldn't fire artillery. So it was hand-to-hand, man-to-man for hours. And we buried 609 of them the next day, and we lost 25 guys. So, and of course, that's a win for us. That's how it goes, I guess. You know the odds. So they considered that a win. But not for the 20 guys that we lost, though. It was not a win.
Okay, some gave all. Can't forget the look in her eyes, all the tears that said it all. Now she looks at the photograph and she thinks to herself what her son was saying. She has no regrets. All gave some gave all. All gave some gave all. so at peace within herself.